Hello everyone, in this lesson, let's solve word problems associated with the trigonometry. So the first problem says, Vishnu leaned a 10-meter ladder against a wall and forms 70 degree with the ground. How high up the wall does the ladder go? So here is a rough sketch of the problem. This is the wall and here is the ladder which is leaning against the wall. The ladder is 10 meter long and it forms 70 degree with the ground. And the problem is asking us to find the height of the wall to which the ladder go and let it be h. Since this situation forms a right triangle, so 90 degree at the base of the wall. With respect to this 70 degree, the side length height will be the opposite and then the length of the ladder 10 meter is hypotenuse. Since the angle and then the hypotenuse are given and we are asked to find the opposite, so let's use the sine ratio. Sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. So substitute here, sine of theta means 70 degree equals opposite here is height and then the hypotenuse is the length of the ladder, which is 10. There is a denominator of 1 to the sine 70 degree. Now to find the value of the h, cross multiply this proportion, which becomes 1 times h equals sine 70 degree times 10. So h is approximately equals to sine 70 degree times 10 equals 9.4 meter. So the height of the wall to which the ladder goes is 9.4 meter. Let's look at another problem. It says find the values of x, y and z for the right triangle below. So let's find this value of z. Since the sum of internal angles of any triangle is 180 degree, so 72 degree plus 90 degree plus z degree should be equals 180 degree. 72 degree plus 90 degree plus z should be 180 degree. 72 plus 90 degrees 162 degree plus z equals 180 degree. Remove 162 degree from this side of the equation by subtracting 162 on both sides of the equation. So z equals 180 degree minus 162 degree, which equals 18 degree. So the value of z is 18 degree. Next, let's find the value of y by using the tangent ratio. You can either use 72 degree or 18 degree. With respect to this 18 degree, y is opposite and then the side length 10 is adjacent. And then with respect to this 72 degree, the side length 10 is opposite and then the y is adjacent. Since it deals with opposite and adjacent, so let's use tangent ratio. And let me use tan of 72 degree equals opposite here is 10 and adjacent is y. There is denominator of 1 here. To find the value of y, cross multiply this proportion, which becomes y times tan 72 degree equals 10 times 1. Remove this tan 72 degree from the side of the equation by dividing tan 72 degree on both sides of the equation, which gives us y equals to 10 divided by tan of 72 degree, which is approximately equals to 3.2. So the value of y equals 3.2. Now let's find the value of x, and there are two ways to find it. One is by applying Pythagorean theorem and another one is by applying trig ratios. So let me use the trig ratios because it's easier and faster. So you can either use 72 degree or 18 degree. And let me use this 18 degree. With respect to this 18 degree, the side length 3.2 is opposite and the side length 10 is adjacent and this x is hypotenuse. So cosine of 18 degree equals to adjacent, which is 10 divided by hypotenuse, which is x, or sine of 18 degree equals to opposite, which is 3.2 divided by hypotenuse, which is x. You can use any of this proportion to find the value of x. So let me use this first proportion. There is a denominator of 1 here. To find the value of x, cross multiply this proportion. X times cos of 18 degree equals 1 times 10. Remove this cos of 18 degree by dividing cos of 18 degree on both sides, which gives us x equals to 10 divided by cos of 18 degree, which is approximately equals to 10.5. So the value of this x equals 10.5. Let's solve another problem which says find the value of x, y, and z for the right triangle below. So let's find the value of z by applying trig ratio. With respect to this z, the side length 1 is adjacent, and then the side length 10 is hypotenuse. So use the cosine ratio, which involves adjacent and hypotenuse. So cosine of z equals to adjacent, which is 1, divided by hypotenuse, which is 10, which equals 0.1. Since we are finding this value of z, which is the angle, so keep z on this side and take cosine on the other side, which becomes cosine inverse of 0.1. And to perform this in calculator, press shift plus cos of 0.1, which is approximately equals to 84.3 degree. So the value of z equals 84.3 degree. Now let's find the value of y. With respect to this y, the side length 1 is opposite and 10 is hypotenuse. Since it involves opposite and hypotenuse, so use sine ratio, which is sine of y equals to opposite, that is 1, divided by hypotenuse, which is 10, which equals 0.1. Since we are finding this y, so keep it on the side and take sine on the other side, which becomes sine inverse of 0.1, which is approximately equals to 5.7 degree. The value of y equals 5.7 degree. Now let's find the value of x, and there are two ways: Pythagorean theorem and using trigonometric ratio. So let's use the trigonometric ratio. You can use any of these two angles. So let me use this 5.7 degree. With respect to 5.7 degree, this is your adjacent, and then the side length 10 is hypotenuse. So I can say cosine of 5.7 degree equals adjacent, which is x, divided by hypotenuse, which is 10. There is a denominator of 1 here. Now cross multiply this, which becomes 1 times x equals to 10 times cos of 5.7 degree, which equals x is approximately equals to 9.9. So the value of x equals 9.9. Let's look at this problem. At what acute angle does y equals 2x plus 3 crosses x-axis? Since this equation is in the form y equals mx plus b, which is in slope and y-intercept form, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And here is the rough sketch of this problem. So this is the graph of y equals 2x plus 3. And then the problem is asking what is the angle between this x-axis and the graph. So let's select 2 points on the graph. So let this be 1 point and let this be another point. So this is the rise and this is run. Rise and run. So this m, which is slope, is given by rise over run. The rise and then the run, it forms a right triangle with this graph. And with respect to this angle theta, the rise becomes opposite and then the side length run is the adjacent. So you can say that tangent of theta equals to opposite over adjacent. Opposite in this case is rise and adjacent in this case is run. So we see here that slope is also the ratio of rise over run, and tangent of any angle is also the ratio of rise over run. So the key takeaway here is that tangent of any angle is equals to the slope. Since the slope in this case is 2, so tangent of theta equals 2. To find this angle theta, keep it on the same side and take tangent on the other side, which becomes tan inverse of 2, which is approximately equals to 63.4 degree. So the graph makes angle of 64.3. Let's look at this another problem. It says a pole is 6.2 meter tall and casts a shadow of 13.4 meter long. At what angle do the sun rays strike at the top of the pole? So this is a pole which is 6.2 meter tall and it casts a shadow of 13.4 meter long. And this situation, it forms a right triangle. And the problem is asking what is the angle formed at the top of the pole. So with respect to this angle theta, this side length, that is 13.4, is opposite, and then the side length 6.2 is adjacent. Since opposite and adjacent are given, so let's use tangent ratio, which says tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Opposite is 13.4 and adjacent is 6.2, which equals 2.16. Since we are finding this angle theta, so keep this angle theta on the same side and take this tangent on the other side, which becomes tan inverse of 2.16, which is approximately equals to 65 degree. So the angle formed at the top of the pole, 65 degree. Let's look at this another problem which says a ladder is leaned against a wall and forms 25 degree with the wall. If the ladder reaches 2.8 meter up the wall, how long is the ladder? So this is the wall and this ladder is leaned against this wall, and the angle formed by this ladder with the wall is 25 degree, and this ladder reaches 2.8 meter against the wall, and it's asking us to find what is the length of the ladder, and let's denote it by h. This situation, it forms a right triangle, so you can use trigonometric ratios to find the value of h. With respect to this 25 degree, the side length 2.8 is adjacent, while this hypotenuse is the length of the ladder. Since the angle and the adjacent are given and we are asked to find this hypotenuse, therefore we must use cosine ratio, which is the ratio of adjacent over hypotenuse. Substitute here, cosine of angle here is 25 degree, adjacent is 2.8, and then hypotenuse is h. There is a denominator of 1 here. Cross multiply this proportion, which becomes h times cos 25 degree equals 1 times 2.8 divided by cos 25 degree divided by cos 25 degree, which gives us h equals to 2.8 by cos 25 degree, which is approximately equals to 3.1 meter. So the length of this ladder is 3.1 meter. Let's solve this last problem, which says on the path to a school, the rise is 80 meter for a run of 500 meter. What is the angle of the path? So this is the path to a school which is inclined to a certain angle, and then the run here is 500 meter, and then the rise is 80 meter. The problem is asking us to find this angle which is between the path and then this horizontal. Since this situation forms a right triangle, so with respect to this theta, 80 meter is opposite and 500 meter is adjacent. Since it involves opposite and adjacent, so let's use tangent theta. So tangent theta equals opposite in this case is 80 over adjacent is 500, which equals 0.16. Since we are finding this theta, so keep on this side and take tangent on the other side, which becomes tan inverse of 0.16, which is approximately equals to 9 degree. So the angle of the path equals 9 degree. I hope this video is helpful and thank you for watching.